Charles.
All right.
I think it might be on already.
Get my other phone out of my back.
I think it might be on already.
Not yet. Oh yeah, it is.
It's on? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
All
I got
right.
it.
All right. All right. All right. Let me turn this off. Let me turn my sound on. All right.
Somewhere.
Okay, you guys. I tagged y'all. I tagged you guys so you can add it to your actual pages. So if y'all want to exit real quick and add it to your pages, y'all can get it on your actual individual platforms.
Oh.
Charles, were you able to add it to your
Yeah.
timeline?
Let me go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us again for this week's episode of The Hot Seat. It's about to go down. About to go down. I'm ready for Cece to tell Cece tell all her
I ain't
secrets
telling all.
tonight.
Good girls don't
Tell
tell everything.
all. We gonna tell them secrets on tonight, honey. Uh-huh. Mm, tonight on this evening. See, I don't know Victoria's secrets just yet, but you know, but Victoria is a secret though.
Lord, you.
Victoria is the secret. Aha.
Victoria, yes, ma'am. You got the right name for this show.
Victoria's Secret.
Victoria is a secret, okay?
Yes.
So you guys, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show tonight. We're gonna go
Praying
ahead
for you,
and get
Charles.
Yes.
started. We're gonna get
Yes.
started. Cece, would you please lead us in a quick word of prayer, Ladybug?
Most gracious and holy God, we thank you once again for bringing us together to share our seeds of wisdom with these your people. God, we ask that you anoint our words, our lips, and our thoughts that we may have a pure understanding of where we go from this place. God, we thank you for this vision that you've given Precious. We thank you for this venue that we use to reach your people. Thank you for the airways that have been made available to us that we may serve you with our wisdom. It's in Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. So this week's episode is really, really unique. I'm gonna have to tell y'all the backstory. It's gonna be real fun to you, okay? In the meantime, I'm gonna read the narrative and we're gonna get started.
Okay.
There's a unique saying that we shouldn't mix business with life's
Amen.
pleasures. Yet it's done every day.
Amen.
In offices nationwide, we build relationships with our peers. We find commonalities and interests that coincide. One thing leads to another, and from there, a relationship of sorts is birthed until the delight turns to dangerous when we consider the consequences of said relational activity. I'm the boss, he's my subordinate, or vice versa. We find ourselves caught between livelihood and love. The thrill of the encounter,
Going on.
the thrill of the encounter Oh God, I got lost. Okay. The thrill of the encounter can lead us to some risky behavior in situations where we could be caught. But what's more important? Can we keep up with our secret? Is it going to destroy a career that we have had a vested interest in many years of building? Or do we even care if we believe we found our purpose person? The unfortunate opposite is true in a case like this. We could encounter the crazy person who simply can't get enough of us, the one that divulges personal information, pictures, emails, and the like. They put you out there. The jealous one who doesn't want anyone to communicate with you, the new hire, especially for fear of getting replaced. The list of loony goes on, and the real question remains, is an office romance a delight or a danger?
Mm.
On tonight. So let me tell y'all how this came to be. Let me tell you about this delight and the danger. So um one of my customers shared a very interesting story with me about this girl that he used to date at work. And he talked about how um when he first met her, she seemed so charismatic and outgoing and bubbly and blah 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 blah. And so one day when they had, you know how everybody goes to happy hour from work, everybody just gets together and say, "Oh, we all gonna go to happy hour."
Mhm.
So one time they went to happy hour and the girl got tipsy, to say the least. I didn't want to say white girl wasted, but he said she got white girl wasted. So, but he said, so what ended up happening was he had to take the girl home. And he said he stayed because he was really concerned because she was so inebriated. She was like really out of it. And so he was like, he wasn't sure if she was going to stay passed out or whatnot. So anyway, long story short, after that, and he took care of her, she started liking him. So he started dating the girl and they started hanging out, doing things together, and he got a promotion.
Mm.
She got mad because she got overlooked for the job, and she took all kind of pictures and everything, and she had it sent to the office in a manila
Mm-mm.
envelope addressed to the president of the company.
Mm.
So she literally set him up from complete and total failure because she was upset about her getting passed for the promotion that he landed.
That's a
And
mess.
so I was like, ooh, office romance, is this a danger or a delight on tonight? I said, ooh, look, that was an extreme case, but I'm certain that that's not the only person. I'm certain that's not the only person who has had some kind of traumatizing scenario in dealing with somebody at work. So we're gonna start with you, Carrie. Let me ask you a question, Carrie.
Yes, ma'am. My sister,
When
y'all
you,
pray for her.
when you consider being at work with somebody for the hours that we spend invested with people and we get to know them and things like that, is there really a healthy way to have a workplace romance without it infringing on the professional component?
Mm.
There is, but there has to be such a serious conversation before it even gets to that. Because I have like this thing now at my age, workplace romance is totally out of the question. For where I am now, it's out. Now, when I was in my 20s, it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually got married.
Mm.
I was 19, he was 21. We worked together, we did everything together. And the closeness led to intimacy, and that yielded, it actually was okay. But when we got married, 3 years in, when I tell you he could not tolerate another man even looking at me, and y'all think I'm cute now, I was fine back then.
My God, on tonight.
Yes. But the thing is, our problem wasn't at work. Our problem was at home because of work.
Mm.
So it can become a danger if you look at modern society and the mindset of the person that you're dealing with. I always say that it's healthier to have someone that you can totally separate work from, because you do need some kind of venting. You don't need to bring up work home or take home to work, because it happens like that, and it's
Right,
really unhealthy.
right.
Really unhealthy.
Mm.
So how do you do that without running the risk of finding a loony?
And really, you really don't know how crazy they are until you've been with them. To be honest with you, I never thought in a million years he was the jealous type until
Mm.
after the marriage. So when you look at the scenario with what you shared about your friend, he
Hmm.
knew she was crazy beforehand. Hell, she was drunk. I mean, excuse me. She was, a little lit, a
Yeah,
little
she was.
tipsy.
That's what I was thinking. I was and when he was talking to me.
But
I said,
why
"Wait a
wasn't
minute,
that a,
you met her.
yes.
You met her at the halfway house."
Yeah, and well, see, the thing is, it goes back to what we say all the time. People ignore red flags. I mean,
Right,
my
Mm.
God, it was
right,
red flags all over that scenario.
right,
And
Mm.
when it comes down to workplace, if you are peers, you got to look at the fact that you are subject to be up for the same promotion. You're subject to be looked at the same time for something. There may be even a transfer, or maybe even a job trip. What if the job trip says, okay, Charles, you can go on this trip to Hawaii because I need you to go get this account, and you two are dating, and you get mad because I won't, as the president, I won't let you go,
Mm.
not knowing that you have a fling, because a lot of times workplace relationships are a secret. And
Mm.
that's where
yeah,
the problem is.
that's
And
where.
that's why
Yeah.
you always hear me say, I can't be somebody's secret. If I'm going to be somebody's secret, we can't have a relationship, because
Mm.
that secret gets exposed usually at the most unusual times. And it's most of the time uncomfortable. It's most of the time challenging. It's oftentimes disruptive, if you want to use
Mm.
that. It can
Hmm.
disrupt the flow of work, and both of you could actually lose employment and respect. So when you're looking at why would you get involved with somebody at work, what is the motive?
Mm.
Now, the other side of the
That,
table for
that's
me is
that's
that,
another thing. That's another
yeah,
major thing is the
yeah,
motivation behind it. Because here's the
yeah,
bigger picture. I think the reason why it has to be a secret is because of what it is because of the environment and the ambiance. It's not something that you can't. It has to be a secret. It's no way to really parade around your relationship. Even if you're married and work in the same place, you still have to be very discreet and very circumspect in the workplace, even if you're
Yeah.
married. It's
And I'm gonna
lots of
tell you
people
why.
said.
It's because of favoritism also. My husband, my first husband, I was 19. He was my supervisor. I was in the Navy, so a supervisor in the military was an LPO. And
Mm-hmm.
my leading petty officer was my husband, but at that time when we were dating, people knew we were dating, but I purposely stayed out of his division because
Mm-hmm.
I could, if I went in there, I get a certain look. I get, hey baby, you can't say hey baby in uniform. So
Absolutely.
that's why I say it's very disruptive.
Right.
So it having to be a secret could bring the challenge home because it's like, why you act like you don't know me? You know I'm your woman. So that turns into something else. Or why
Mhm.
you ignore me? You know I'm your man. So it really can be challenging. The other side of the table is if you're trying to build an entrepreneurial type corporation, that's a different world. Corporate America,
Actually, no, not really.
well, I'm saying from the experience that I'm in now.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
right now,
yeah. It depends
where
on
I
it
am
depends
now,
on what type of
right,
entrepreneur endeavor you're doing.
right.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
I say that because entrepreneurs, and I'll give you an example, and I'm just making an example, if Charles and Carrie are partners in entrepreneurial ministry,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing work that has led to a very strong force, because a good, strong couple can be a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
So
Very true.
if it's in the entrepreneurial world, maybe so in the corporate, but I've seen it successful in the entrepreneurial world. You can see how that development is a team, it's a partnership.
Hmm.
Iron sharpens iron. It becomes healthy. It becomes an example, and it
Hmm.
shows people of how kingdom building and economic development can be healthy. So
Hmm.
that's why I say for me at this age, workplace romance has its proper place, but it has to be very well established. There have to be work boundaries, no horsing around in the job. Because if you can't kiss everybody, you can't come in there and get no sugar at work just because that's your boo. You really got to keep it professional. There's a
Mm-hmm.
time and a place for everything under the sun. And if we don't have boundaries, it can then still be disruptive.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
that that's like, oh, that can be real hairy. And another
Mhm.
thing I thought about, and Charles, you can jump in at any minute because I know you're nervous about, this workplace ministry function. But anyway, but another thing that came to my mind is, when the sheets come off and you guys are ousted, and because you can't hide it but for so long. You're gonna be somewhere public,
Right.
somebody gonna see you. It's going
Hmm.
to be There's no real way to keep a secret when it comes to something like that. You just gotta kind of manage it for as long as you can. But when
Right.
it comes out, how do you address it without it becoming a problem? Do you deny that you know the person, or do you,
Oh no,
own
never.
up to it? I mean, how is that handled? Because I would think if you deny it, then that could actually cause another set of
Mhm.
problems. You
Yeah.
you
And
the
and
person
that's why
saying it
revenge can be
wrongfully.
so
You know what I'm
horrible.
saying? Yeah.
Yes. People become vengeful when you deny a relationship,
Right.
especially when there's an investment of time, an investment of resources. Even if you cross boundaries and become sexual, um, that kind of rejection can stimulate anger.
Mm.
So that's why I said mature people would have to talk about it.
Right.
If we're gonna date, if I notice an attraction from a coworker, it's like, okay, hold up, I need you to understand something, and we need to have that conversation.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, that conversation has to be detailed. That's not the time to be shallow.
Very
That
true.
is not the time to be shallow or frivolous in your You got to be specific. You got to talk about, okay, now when I go to work, you know how I am at work. I am, in my zone. I don't have time to be patronizing your personality. If you're insecure, I'm gonna tell you right now that, like me, when I go to work, I don't go to work looking like I've been cutting grass. So if you're insecure, you really shouldn't even go past the conversation, even if there's an attraction. Because a lot of times people don't understand chemistry. And I said this morning when I was posting the dating 2.02. Chemistry does not mean covenant. That does just because you got chemistry with somebody don't mean that you're supposed to hook up with them. Because technically you have chemistry with your friends. That's the reason why you're friends in the first place. So my male friends are my homies, but that's not people who I want to be with in an intimate personal relationship.
True. Mr. Dixon, talk to us.
Well, I mean, listening to you all talk, I mean, granted, yes. Is it a very thin line to deal with someone at work? Of course. But in some cases, some people, to be honest, let's take that person that may not be, out at the bars, out at these different places, but they're spending a great amount of time at work. And they happen to find another person that they have commonality at work. Maybe they have a similar skill set and they've done some lunches, but they found out they get along and there's an attraction there. So now there's this, I don't really get this anywhere else, and I feel this with this person. And so if you're going to take part in something like that, you really have to have a mature conversation. Because like you said, you can't have those validation issues at the job. You can't be coming and standing there with somebody in a meeting. You see me out here, all that kind of stuff that people do. You can't do all. You got to be mature and be like, we got to be grown folks here. We can't do none of this. We can talk about this stuff when we leave. If it's something important, send me a text. We can even go out somewhere and meet out for lunch or whatever. But we can't compromise the workplace.
But Charles, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question on this evening.
Oh Lord, she's over my eyes.
Yeah. When the DNA swap takes place, I don't know. I think all that the hope of maturity may demise at that point, if you will.
Well, here's the thing. Even after DNA swap, you still want the person to have a job, right? You don't want them to be unemployed.
Some people don't worry about that. Some people don't think that's the bigger picture.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, it's always
if they're going to act crazy, they're not thinking that's the bigger picture on this evening, Mr. Dixon. They're not thinking that's the bigger picture.
No, so listen, I've seen it. I've been involved on two sides of the fence.
Talk about the fence that didn't work first.
All right.
Yeah, talk about that first.
The fence
Go ahead,
work.
Charles.
So the fence that didn't work, once when I was early on in my career, I was the person who was kind of mentoring me in my field was a young lady, and even though she was my mentor, we were only like probably 3 or 4 years apart. And so she was, what's going on, Bruce? So she was mentoring me or what have you. And next thing you know, we started to work late. And, then all of a sudden I'm hungry. Then the work late became these convenient dinners and all this kind of thing. And then eventually, you start doing all this over and over again. Then you begin to look at each other. Then it becomes, you starting to laugh at little silly things. The next thing you know, you are in the midst of something. And, one day you skip the dinner and you go to something else. But anyway, so these
wait a minute, Charles. Don't try to fast forward that. Don't try to fast that. Did you say that we skipped dinner and went straight to dessert? Is that what you just said?
We skipped dinner and said, later for the dinner. But anyway, so next thing you know, of course, it seems, and when I was very, very much immature and younger, I wasn't counting up all the costs, but it seemed like things was going fine. I get to come to work and I'm acting cocky because I'm with the boss. So you're gonna tell me nothing? I'm doing all, whatever. I'm doing all, how we do, Bruce. I'm kind of feeling myself or whatever. So next thing I know, because I was being more confident, I was more attractive in the eyes of some of my peers that worked with me. They were like, "What's going on with him? He's acting all," no one really knew what was happening with it. I guess they figured something was going on. Well, to make a long story short, one day she obviously had either she had never did this before or she had done it before and she was used to doing it in the confines of control. So we're in this room. I'm working. She comes over there and she reaches over top of me and she was like, "That wasn't cute flirting with her." But she said it very much in earshot. And so I'm sitting here like, I turn around like, All right, so I tried to play it off, but everybody's kind of turned around like it was a room of like 6 of us. So we were in this big kind of oval room, and so it wasn't hard for someone to figure something had happened. And so I looked at her, and so she had this real stern demeanor at me, and so I'm looking, so I'm like, okay, let me try to adjust the situation. So I got up because he was irritating me. So I said, let's step out there for a second. So we went out into the hallway, and I said, well, what's going on? I said, why are you doing all this right here? Because the girl was all in your face. I'm sitting there like, oh, fast. So then I said, hold on, let's bring it down. So she kept going. I said, so listen. I said, think about this. You're the supervisor. I'm the employee. I said, this doesn't look right in there amongst the peers. Well, you know what's on? I said, so listen. So I had to. Now, here's the thing. In this particular situation, it worked out bad for her because of the way I handled it. I didn't do it on purpose, but the way it came out, it just didn't look good for her. So she kept going loud into the hallway. And so I said, okay, everybody's looking, and I see the big boss down there, so let me take control of the situation. I said, okay, I made a misjudgment of character with you. I apologize. Everybody heard me. And they were like, oh. So I told them. And so then after that, she looked, and I think it shifted to her that I took control of the situation. And then she was like, oh. So she went back in. Big boss calls me and her back in his office. He's like, what's going on? And I told him, I said, her and I working very closely. I said, I made the bad decision of connecting with her outside of professionalism of work. And I said, and so thus we are here. And so then he looked at her and he said, you mentoring him, right? So she said, yes. He said, well, I hold you. He told me I hold you responsible. So what he ended up doing, he put her on suspension, but she was too arrogant. She got another job during her suspension. So she never came back. But that was ugly situation in that situation. I didn't want that to happen. You know. Now
she was mentoring you after hours.
So on the flip side of it, before that period of time, I want to say this is probably back in 2000. Back in 2000, this was my longest relationship to date. I met this person at work. We started out, maybe we had these subliminal silent lunches. We would text or tell, I'll meet you at so-and-so place. We would go, we went there. We did this every day. Then after that, this period of transition of us escalating took off about a month. Then we both got different jobs. And then we carried on. So that was a different situation. But
that wasn't really a workplace romance.
Oh, that was what we were
Oh, yeah, it was.
We had worked there for a
We
while.
did at work.
I like the first story better.
Oh, man.
The other story has a lot of juice. I just want to keep that out.
See, this is the thing. The
That
one
was
thing you got to
much
think about,
juicy.
those workplace romances
Yeah,
are usually stimulated by sensuality. They're
correct.
stimulated by emotion. There are usually are moments where there's a void being filled. So now you got your friend and your lover, which is what most of us want. But the problem is boundaries. People don't, and that's where you hear the language nowadays of that's your work husband, because they can correlate with you in so many areas. You have such a kindred spirit when it comes down to certain things. You think alike, you process trial and error of things that may come up in the work, even problem resolving. When you look at how you go about doing your day-to-day routine, and you be like, well, hey, let me just bounce this off Charles, and Charles be like, yeah, CC, that's hot. And we do that all day long. So that's what I mean by chemistry doesn't mean covenant. We have a chemistry in the workplace, but when you cross that line and start tapping that tail because you like somebody, now what used to be a tease about the workplace husband or the workplace wife is now a problem.
It's detrimental.
Because somebody's emotions are going to get out of control.
Yeah.
Their habits are going to shift, and then jealousy will creep in, and they're not going to be, people lie and say, oh, I can handle it. No, you can't. You cannot handle the fact that somebody else wants your mate, especially when you're trying to conceal it. And if they publicly look like they're flirting with somebody else, but you're the secret, that's going to be a problem.
Victoria, talk to us. Talk to us about the Victoria's Secret on this evening.
Well, wow. I have been on both sides of that coin as well.
Victoria, turn your
Office
volume down just a little
rotation.
bit. Turn your volume down
My
just a little bit.
volume, take
Yeah,
it down
just a
just
little
a
bit.
little bit. Okay. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So like I said, I've been on both sides of that coin. I never invited it though. In every situation I was in, I never invited it. They come at me, and they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming.
Hmm.
But in my situation, it was always a silent deal.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told. And
Right.
to this day, as far as I know, none of our coworkers ever knew it, you
Wow.
know.
Mm.
So we kept it under
Oh, I'm
wraps, and
getting
we
yeah.
agreed that that's how it would be, that it would be under wraps. We didn't lunch together. I mean, we worked in the same department. We didn't take our breaks together. Everything we did was outside, away from the office. When the office had office events and everyone had to be there, we were just two coworkers in the same room, keeping it
Mm.
under wraps, and it never blew up into anything. On the outside, it blew up and became a full-blown romance that
Mm.
lasted several years until we
Wow.
both agreed that this was the end of it. But it never got to be a big deal.
So
It never got to
Victoria,
be a
you
big
do know
deal.
how to keep it secret. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Bruce,
I
talk
think you
to
have
us.
to really differentiate, the
Yeah,
difference
between the two.
between your workplace and your
Yeah.
personal life.
Right.
Right.
And
You
And
know.
I've just always made it a
you're right.
practice that my personal life never crosses over into my business life.
Listen.
Right. And
Listen.
you
It's
and
just
you gotta
always
be
been my policy. It's just always
right.
how I carry myself. And so if I thought it was going to be a problem, I just never entered in the first place.
And you know
Mm.
what? I've always
Right.
considered if I ever were to and I'm not gonna talk about my situations on tonight.
Yes,
Oh,
you
you.
are. Yes, you
Yes, you
are.
are.
You can
Tell us.
share,
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
share
just
out.
say
Yes,
this.
you are.
I'm gonna just say this on this evening. Uh,
Oh, Lord.
when you contemplate the workplace romance concept, I always think about this. Does he have something to lose too?
Hmm.
Yes.
So if
Mm.
it's somebody who doesn't have anything to lose, I don't want to deal with you.
Don't do it. Nope.
Mm.
Never.
That's how I define if I'm going to entertain the opportunity.
Yeah.
If there's no fear of loss, no, we can't do nothing.
Hmm.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's
Hmm.
true.
So if it's somebody that they don't have nothing to lose, why waste your
Why
time?
would you? Yeah.
Why even
That's true.
consider it? But Bruce, talk
Mm.
to us. Come on, Bruce. Talk to Bruce over there in the silent department. Come on, Bruce, say something to us.
Yeah, I kind of came in, coming in a little late. I usually I'll be a little warm. Charles will have me a little warmed up by now, so I'm kind of like listening.
You warming up. You warming up.
um, the discipline I would say for me personally, the discipline that I have in my life now and that I've had for some years, no, I keep business
Separate.
separate from having my own business.
Yeah.
Hmm.
For the past 12 to 15 years, I had to go through some things.
Hmm.
Being in real estate, it's always somebody trying to pay their rent without cash,
My
and
this evening. Mm.
uh, they like to pay rent with cookies. And yeah,
Mm.
I had to learn obedience through some of the things that I suffered
Oh wow.
from making those
So
type of mistakes.
what you saying to us on this evening is that you've been a cookie monster in times past, Chris?
Oh, Lord
Oh,
Jesus.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And
Oh
I'm not saying that with boldness.
Yeah.
Leave it there. Leave it
Like
there.
like I'm not saying it like it's something to to brag
Glory.
about.
Lord. Of course not.
No,
Mm-mm.
I'm
Mm.
saying that as a younger man, when we were more driven by hormones and excitement,
I got you.
more so than wisdom and experience. Yeah, I made several of them types of choices.
Mm.
And as a younger man, I even used like business acumen to being able to bake some cookies a little faster than normal.
My fast baking cookies. Ooh,
Um,
the fast baking cookies get burnt sometimes, Bruce.
That part.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's why I say I had to learn obedience through the
Okay.
things I suffered.
Learn it.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
I had
Y'all
to learn
feel
them
it
Yes,
the
tonight.
hard way. I
I
had to
love
learn
it,
the
Bruce.
hard way, and
Yes.
I love
I
it.
could take you 11 days I took the children of Israel, what was like 100 and something, 144 years or something like that, for an 11-day journey.
Mm.
I had to take a long journey of learning the hard way
Ah,
Mm.
before this amount of discipline, entered into my world and my life.
but I
Okay.
like how
So
you said
I
that.
am
I like how
totally,
you said that, Bruce. I like how you said. I like how you said you just came to a juncture, and everybody's juncture is different. But I like how you said you came to a juncture and said that for me, it's most important that I just separate the two and never intertwine them because
never.
everybody's experience or capacity or however you want to slice the pie is not the same. So for some people, they need to take the road that you took and say, I can't participate in this because I'm taking a risk that I don't know the outcome, and the risk is not worth the possibility of reward is different from knowing you're gonna have a reward. Totally
Mm.
different.
Yeah. So there are some men, and not for me to belabor my portion, but there are some men, and not to sound too arrogant, a little bit arrogant, but not too arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
There are some men like a Bruce Oliver, Charles Dixon, uh, a Denzel Washington, them type of guys that you can't just play and walk away.
Right.
Mhm.
There are men who can play and walk away and get no repercussions.
Mhm.
Right.
But then there are some men who the calling that's on their life,
Yep.
Right.
their
Very true.
giftings, their
Right.
talents,
Mhm.
their
Yeah.
personality, the way they like to think or
Mhm.
whatever. For
Right.
somehow they just
Mhm.
people get drawn to them, and when you
Right.
play and
Right.
try to walk away, they're like, nah, bro,
You gonna
you ain't going
pay.
nowhere.
You
They
gonna
ain't.
pay today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
after
that
Yeah,
same
and
paying
thing
for
it's
12
applies to
years,
women because some of us
it's
have that same aura when it comes down to women. With me being tall and the way I'm built, the way I articulate, and it's like you said, Bruce, it's not about arrogance. It's just that when you know the weight that's on your life, you
Right.
really can't even afford to play in those realms and delve into those areas of vulnerability with somebody who can't even handle the anointing that's on your life. And I'm using the word anointing on purpose because some of us are multi-gifted, multi-talented, multifaceted, and people are drawn to that, and their attraction may be to one part of you, but they can't handle all of you. They
Mm.
can't even handle your personal vulnerabilities because we all have them. So when you
right.
think about a workplace romance, it's like, hold up, player, what you can't handle all this. I'm too much
Mm.
to deal with. And when you know that about yourself, you're really conscious about what you allow in. And sometimes I don't even blame the other person who may be thirsty for you. It's your capacity to say no.
why
And
they got
that's
to
why
be
Absolutely.
thirsty? Why they got to be thirsty? Why they can't be hungry?
you in them figures. It depends.
They might be a little bit of both.
You can get full off of what you drink
There
faster
might be
than
a
you can
little
get
bit
full
of
off of what
a
you eat.
little something going on.
Yeah.
And can
But
I
but
tell
that's
y'all
what
a
I'm
quick
saying.
scenario?
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
Can I tell you a 10-second scenario? And because of social media, I'm not going to put any names or go real deep into the situation. But I am currently dealing with a situation now where there's a gentleman, he's an older gentleman, who gotten involved with his secretary. He's a dentist,
Mm.
been a dentist for years. 4, 5, 6, 7 practices.
Mm.
Down here, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And very prosperous man
Okay.
in the multi-millions. And to make a
Mm.
long story short, it started off, seeing a much younger secretary.
Mm.
And then it turned into a relationship. She wound up being the office manager of all of his practices and his residential homes.
Mm.
So to make a long story short, my conversation with him less than an hour ago, I'm trying to hold back the tears. This thing hurts so bad, man. You hear
Wow.
what I'm saying, Charles?
Wow. Wow.
She took this brother, her behavior took this brother from at least 4 to 5 million in liquids and assets down to maybe 30 or 40,000
Oh,
Wow.
Lord have
Wow.
mercy.
from
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
embezzling, and just the whole 9 yards. Not to get into the whole story, but it is horrible. And it
Yeah.
started off
The
with a
workplace
young
romance.
secretary.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
this is why I don't
Yeah.
understand. If you're going to
He
go
gave
into
her
that
a lot.
realm, Why don't you, and this is my thought, and maybe it's because it was my experience. If you're going to delve into that, I don't see, and we've talked about this, I don't see trusting somebody on that scale that he went through without there's got to be a marriage. There's got to be some kind of, what do they call it? Premarital agreement.
Right,
There's got to
prenups.
be some things that are, because I guess because I'm not that caught up, I can't even fathom being that caught up on a relationship that I'm willing to be that vulnerable to put everything on the table to empty out and possibly lose. Because, like Precious said, what do you have to lose? If you have nothing to lose, why are we even doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Bruce, did he
And
marry
then
her?
count the
Did he
Nope,
marry
didn't marry her.
person.
No, he
Mm-mm,
was already married once and divorced. He didn't marry her, but she lived with him for um
mm-mm,
for at least about 7 to 8 years.
mm-mm.
her?
Not
A
Okay,
good
let's
enough.
minimum,
go.
a minimum of, I'll say a minimum of 10 years because he put her daughter through college.
Not
Oh,
good enough.
wow.
Mm-mm.
Not good
And
enough.
when I say they worked him, I mean
Do they
Charles.
work
I
them?
mean, as full of the Holy Ghost as I am, I feel like calling him John Wick, bro.
My God,
When
my
you
God,
hear
Wow.
these
my
things,
God.
you want to
Wow.
call John Wick. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
You
Wow.
talking
But
about the third John
yeah,
Wick,
she
the
took.
third one, the third John Wick, Bruce.
I'm talking about the John Wick organization.
Okay,
Yeah, I know
That's what
that's
I'm
okay.
right.
talking
Calling
Yeah.
everybody.
about.
Okay then.
But
Calling everybody.
to get back on track,
Yeah.
forgive me for all that crazy stuff, but to get back
That's
on
right.
track, she
You good, Bruce. You good.
the thing I'm trying to highlight is that it started off as a workplace relationship.
Yeah.
She was a secretary,
Mm.
you know.
Wow.
So
And
here,
you know,
Ebony,
unfortunately, you know what?
go ahead,
The
Charles, and then I'm
thing,
gonna get
the
the chat after
oh,
you get done, Charles. I'm gonna get the
okay.
chat after you get done.
The thing about that scenario, Bruce, that's I've seen that and heard about that a whole lot. Is it starts off, even though it was a workplace romance, one of the most dangerous things about that is simply the access. And because she had access, if she was
Mm-hmm.
attractive, this is the thing that kind of plagues successful men. When we are in an atmosphere where someone is attractive and they're kind of in your space, now they're kind of, so now I don't have to explain so much what I do. They kind of get it. They can help you out. Then what happens then is once you kind of give them that space, here's the thing. If men are honest, if they're successful, you like your up close and personal cheerleader. And so those
Hmm.
people that at that different level, they specialize in praising you. And that's what the men he
Yeah,
absorbs. He's like, oh, she told me I did a
yeah,
great job. And now you start trusting her. You trust her a little bit. You start sleeping with her. Now you feeling like, so we have this professional. This is the best of both worlds. It's professional and a little casual, and she gets my business. So he lets her in slowly but surely. But like you said, Bruce, not vetting her out and knowing what's what is a dangerous thing by allowing that access. And now, like I said, he had to pay the tough price. But
And
it's a
then it's
She
doing
didn't have
stuff out of
she.
order. A lot
yeah,
of times
That's true.
that goes back to what we say in a lot of our conversations. When
yeah,
you allow things to start out of order, they're going
yeah,
to stay out of order.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when you look at the principles, and I can't help but be this way, when you look at the principles of biblical living and how we should build relationships and then go into the next level, we mess it up because we allow sexuality and sensuality to jump in way too early. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking with your third part, and
yeah.
that's not healthy because you can go into areas of trust that are unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
areas of denial, because you can even deny, oh, she'd never do that, because I'm pretty sure this brother said that.
Yeah,
Oh, she'll never do that because done this for her. I've been there for her. We've been a couple for so many
yeah,
years, but there's no covenant. And chemistry
yeah.
without covenant is dangerous. It's so dangerous.
Mm.
Let's go to the chat, you guys. Okay, so Deborah Bowie Brown says that's right. Some people don't have anything to lose. Don't mess with those people. Ebony M. Mitchell, she wrote a dissertation, so I'm gonna read it on tonight because she wrote a whole sermon. Hey, Ebony.
Yeah, that's
She
three
goes,
points and a conclusion in that one.
right? She goes, reminds me of my first job, which was the only time I had a work romance. We agreed to keep it secret because people at work were very messy. Just so happened my cousin worked there as well. She ended up being that female that was flirting with the person I was dating. Even though she was coming on strong, we still kept it secret and then just continued to block her advances. And I did not get jealous. Once I quit the job, is when I finally told my cousin that I was dating the person and she had been continuously flirting with him. Wow. And then Deborah Bowie Brown says, "Oh, pay the rent with the cookies, LOL." Kimberly
Mm.
Adiva says, "Hey, Kimberly." Kimberly Adiva says, "I have never invited or attempted or accepted a workplace romance invitation. I have always felt like when being approached by someone on the job, I am perceived as an object to be conquered or obtained, and I don't like the feeling of being something to be won or or wagered upon. I'm
Mm.
always skeptical of the motivation in approaching me." You know what? That's a good one because unfortunately, even though the emphasis is always placed on women as far as us talking, men swap notes, and it ain't pretty.
Mm.
It ain't pretty. So if you've been in the workplace and you've been that person, that has participated in this type of behavior on numerous occasions in the same ambiance, somebody, one of the scorekeepers have got your number 8, 9, 10, and they holding up the card to tell what you actually did. And so a lot of times where someone may be thinking that this is a positive thing, oh, he liked me, blah, dot, 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 fizz, fizz, fizz. What they really don't know is that you are, like Kimberly Adiva said, something to be conquered because they know you easy and they can gain access to you. So
Mm.
that is not a good thing. And Deborah Bowie Brown says there has to be signs that she couldn't be trusted. Other parts of her life had to show some deceit. But that's what Charles said. What Charles said not long ago. If you have not taken the initiative to run someone through the process to build trust, trust is not given, it's earned. So if they
Mm.
have not earned that trust and you've succumbed to whatever it is that they've seduced you by, because that sounds
Mm.
like, it sounds to me like, Bruce, like she literally seduced him. She knew
Mm.
exactly what
What
she
he
That's
wanted.
motivation.
to get,
Yeah.
what she wanted to get out of him. And it sounds to me like that she used the art of seduction to literally woo this man in and get and drain him and get all of the benefit what she was after. And once she got done getting all her needs met, she was out the door. And it sounds
Yeah,
like she had a plot and a plan, and she put that thing
from the
into
very
place,
beginning.
and he was
Hmm.
blinded by whatever it was. It's like what Charles said earlier about it's another show that we had a while back. Charles was talking about who's in your ear.
Yeah.
We were
Mm.
talking about that. And it sounds to me like she literally preyed on him. She found out what his vulnerability was, and she just honed in on that thing, and she kept pressing those right buttons to get access to those locks and keys that she wanted to get access to. Victoria, talk to us.
Yes, I mean, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And the question I was going to ask you, Bruce, was he trusted her in the work environment, but on a personal level, it seems like he didn't do any research. Did he do a background check? Was that just part of the work environment and he didn't look or dig any further beyond that? If she lived with him for 7 or 8 years, then where were the signs? Was he
I
that
think
blinded that he missed all of that? And why didn't he just marry her?
he was
He
blinded
wasn't
because he
here.
checked
He
her
said that's what he got
background.
married for. Yeah.
Yes.
What you say? What you say, Charles? Say about what,
He was
Charles? Say
he
that.
was blinded. He was blinded because he checked her background. That's what.
My Lord on this. See,
You are in
There
time
you go.
out. You
That's
are
what.
in time out.
Well, I'm sure when he hired her for the
what
job,
you say?
I'm
Did you
Oh,
sure
say
when
check
he
the
hired her
background?
for the job, he checked her out.
Yeah,
oh
Um,
wow.
but he
Yeah.
ain't check her out
and
for
then,
the
you
He
know,
job.
checked her.
He ain't check out for the job
yeah,
Yeah.
these right. And then
But,
when, you know,
here's the real thing though, and
Shut up.
as unfortunate as this situation Bruce is coming up with, in most cases, if men are honest, in most cases, they're not as oblivious as you would suggest. In
okay,
some
Hmm.
cases,
okay,
men realize if if however the woman comes packaged and whatever, at some point he's saying, I see she likes this, that, and the other, and I realize with this one I may have to pay to play. And so to a degree, he signed up for a little bit of pay to play. I think he just got lost. But he signed up for a little bit. You just don't dump
yeah,
that kind of responsibility and money in somebody's hands unless you were trying to
exactly.
use that as a
Yeah.
stronghold mechanism yourself to control a
Hmm.
little
Well,
bit.
I think
Because
another
that's the
problem
flip
was
side of
even
my
though she
question
was
is, what was
in,
he getting out of it? I mean, she
yeah,
took this man to the
Right,
cleaners.
right. That's what I
Yeah,
was
what
thinking
was
about.
he
What
getting
was
out
he?
of it as
Yeah.
well?
See, that's
Well,
what I
he
I
was
think
thinking
my
didn't.
about
question
trying
then
to do.
becomes, why don't we, and it's not to be paranoid. I don't condone a paranoid relationship. But with the type of revenue he was generating,
Exactly.
why in the world would he put all of that in her hands without a commitment? There's no marriage. He did vet her for the employment status that she came in on, but through the years, he never made covenant with her, which, in my opinion, if we ain't married, I need to still check. Because there is a lot to lose when there's no marriage.
Mm-hmm.
In
Bruce,
marriage,
did
See,
he know?
the thing with some men,
Did he know? But
the thing with some men,
Bruce, did he know? Did he? Okay, you said that initially it started out as her being his secretary.
Secretary.
So it's so the
Mhm.
promotions. I mean, I know you know this guy quite well. So the promotions that she received were not necessarily because she actually earned them. He positioned her like that, right?
positioned her like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sometimes there are men and women as well. Y'all forgive me because I'm carnal tonight, preacher.
Thank you for prefacing
okay, you
that.
can have a fit of carnality. Go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead.
There are men.
He's having many fits.
See, like for me, I went to the moon at a very young age. So I walked on the moon several times growing up.
Mine, mine.
Therefore, being as though I've been to the moon, and that's not necessarily a good thing because it was too young for that type of behavior. However, being as though I've been to the moon several times very young, I can handle the moon. There are some men whose lives
Yeah.
were so
Affected
structured
by it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that they can't handle the moon. You
The
understand what I'm
access.
saying?
Yeah, that type of
So when
access.
she
You're right.
presented the moon, and did some tricks with the moon, it
Yeah,
blew,
that's it.
blows his mind, makes him more
Yeah.
vulnerable and more open.
Right, right.
That type of dynamic between them two.
And
And
then
that was the
you
case.
said the
Back when we
age.
was out in the world, we call it being whipped.
But you know
Right.
what?
Yeah.
That's it. You're right.
You said something
Oh,
else
we
too.
done
You
whipped.
said something too, Bruce, that we didn't even really think about when you talked about that age difference. Also,
Yes.
when you mentioned that
Yes.
part, that's a
Yes.
huge
Yes.
factor in this kind of dynamic. Which brings me to my share on this
Oh
evening.
my, oh my.
Oh, good.
All right now.
Hold on.
I'm gonna go ahead and since everybody else been told on themselves, and I got like 3 inbox
Thank
messages.
you.
Look, I got 3 inbox messages. One of my girlfriends talking about you better say something. Stop trying to act like you innocent.
Ain't no innocent people
Like
here now.
really? I
Right.
mean, my own friends. Y'all don't think I'm innocent? I mean, come on. But when you talk about that, okay, I in another lifetime, I was probably I was 22, 23. Lord, I was killing the game. And I mean, I'm still killing it, but I was
Yes.
really killing it. I was really killing it.
Blame it. We were
Oh,
thinking of
Lord.
that.
Carrie, you remember when my hair used to be long down my back, Carrie?
Yes, but that was when we was acting crazy.
No joke. My hair was literally to my butt, like right above I mean, literally, my hair was all the way down my back. My hair,
Was it
not weave, Charles, not weave.
was it Remy? Oh,
We well we
It
we
was
didn't
my
do
hair.
weed.
okay.
It wasn't no
We
weave.
had naturally long hair.
I got pictures to
This
prove
is
it.
when
Okay?
y'all were just on the choir.
My-
We were just
no comment. No comment.
Y'all was on the choir.
um,
But seriously, seriously, back in the day, and this guy that worked with me, he was he was the vice president of the company. Okay, a big, huge insurance company. Everybody knows it, so I really can't say it because they'll put two and two together real easily on this one.
don't do no math tonight.
I ain't gonna add no or subtract because he might even be watching, laugh out loud. But anyway, but anyway, um, he liked my hair and he used to always look at me. I used to be like, what you looking at me for? He was like, you have really pretty hair. And it's, you don't see a lot of women wear their natural hair, so he was like, I really applaud you wearing your natural hair. So anyway, he would come by my office and always want to chop it up, just being real friendly. And so finally I asked him one day, I said, what is the reason why you keep coming by my office? I know you're not my supervisor. I mean, you're the vice president. You don't even need to be on this floor. So what's really going on? So he said, well, would you mind if we exchange numbers? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. He was like, because I don't really think, I can't really say what I want to say here, basically. So anyway, we started conversing outside the office, and because of his position, we could not have no interactions like what Victoria was talking about in the office, period. It never could have any kind of interactions because it would have been bad
So
for
obvious.
me and him while I was getting licenses and all this kind of stuff, and he was already there. So it would be detrimental to him for that to happen. He
Mm.
was 19 years my senior. 19 years
Mhm.
my senior. So nonetheless, spoiled, like really everything I could have possibly thought I really wanted to have in a mate, he was the ideal guy.
Mm.
Until
Mm-hmm.
we actually decided to live together after we was together for a while. We was together like a year and a half or something. So he was like, why don't you come and move in with me? So I was like, oh, my parents gonna kill me. My daddy is a pastor. And ooh, I mean, it was like, oh, my dad is not gonna be thrilled about this. So anyway, we talked to my dad or whatever. My dad, of course, he wasn't happy about it, but he was like, you're an adult. You choose your own journey. He was like, but I will say this, I'm apprehensive about the age difference. And my dad kept saying, what does he really want with somebody your age? He was like, I'm not saying you're not a good woman, but he was like, you're 20 years his youth. My dad was
Mm.
like, what can you really possibly have in common with this man? And so I was like, dang, Dad, I can't believe you think that. He said, I'm not being funny, but your youth is what he's after. He's not after what's in your head. He's after the fact that this youth is what he's really after. So fast forward, we move in together. Everything's grits and gravy until other people started showing interest. And that jealous thing that Carrie talked about earlier, it got real ugly. I'm talking about it got so ugly until one day he went to work. I played like I was sick. I called in the goon squad, packed up all my stuff, and moved out.
Mm.
Because
Excellent.
every day,
Good
I'm
to
talking
know.
about he was grilling me every day. Why was he talking to you? Why was he in your office? He don't work in your department. When you left for lunch, I noticed he was talking to you. And last week you was doing. I mean, it was going like it was like he had somebody watching my every freaking move.
Yep.
I was like, how could he possibly know all this is going on? He can't see
Mhm.
me doing it. He can't see me, so he got somebody surveying my every move. And so after I had that relationship with him, I never had another office romance. Never did.
Mm.
Didn't even
Because
contemplate
it's
it, didn't
so
think about it,
uncomfortable.
didn't consider it. Because I'm telling you, that guy had me, he never touched me or nothing like that. But I was afraid that because he was so jealous, I was getting afraid that he could possibly do something to me.
Mhm.
Because it was like he was getting angry about it. Like he was pissed off. And I was like, how are you mad at me because somebody else is attracted to me? Are you serious?
Well,
So
He's like, I'm taking care of you. Live with me.
that was really what it was. That's really
Of
what it
course,
was.
that's
Yeah.
what it was.
And
Right.
those are usually
right.
control elements.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
he was like, it was so crazy because it was almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was fine for a long, I'm talking about this dude held this facade that he gave me for at least 3 years. It had to be 3 years. And then when that switch happened, it was like, who are you and where's
Who are
my guy?
you? Hmm.
I'm trying to understand
Yep.
who are you and where's my man at? Because you're definitely not him.
Mm.
And so it got bizarre and weird. And I literally packed my stuff and I had the goon squad, my girls. I said, hey, y'all, come on. Y'all got to come we got to move out of here while he at the office.
Mm.
And I mean, when I tell you I left no traces, I called a cleaning service. I had maids to come on in there and clean up anything that even remotely suggested that I was there.
Mm.
Nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for it.
And that's
So,
only because when we look at those who are the superior in the equation,
equation, right.
they are usually in need of some level of control because they lack security, they lack some area of confidentiality. They won't allow themselves to really step outside of what they have as a comfort zone because work for them as a supervisor, as a leader, as a whatever, that's their area or realm of control. Even in when you look at in kingdom areas, being a woman preacher, I'm not really attracted to preachers
Mm.
because I don't want to. For me, that's a workplace relationship,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
and like you say, when it goes sour, for one, I don't want everybody in my business like that. I
Mm.
don't want the people who we've all been working with okay, so now we break up, and then all of a sudden somebody gonna have to go because it's just not gonna work out properly
Oh yeah,
for the
honey.
person on one
I
side
left
or the
the
other.
I left the office. I mean, unfortunately, I was in a leadership role, so it was easy for me to replace that position, which was a blessing. But imagine somebody who can't just go
Who
find
can?
another position
Yeah,
right away. You know, somebody else
yeah,
could
they
be
can't do
affected
that.
adversely, and their whole livelihood is destroyed because of that. So
Yep.
that was to me. I felt like that was my life lesson on having a workplace romance. I just felt like that was a lesson for me to learn to prepare me for where I was headed from there. And I never, I mean, there was all kind of ample opportunities, but I declined. I just couldn't. I was so afraid at that point, and I don't know whether it was necessarily fear or just instinctively understanding that this may not be a reward. It was a risk that you never know if it's going to be a reward on the other side. That's the only thing that kind of kept me grounded with other times because you never know how it's going to play out. But you guys, we are at the top of the hour. Oh, it went by too quick. Oh,
It did.
it went by way too quick. Mr. Dixon,
Hmm.
can you please bring the train into the station? Because the spirit of hunger is upon me, and I got to get some.
Yes.
Well, one thing I will say after your riveting story, Peacock, is this. This brings to mind. Sometimes I think the lesson the Lord was trying to teach you
Oh, here we
is
go. Here we go.
sometimes you don't
Oh,
need to test the temptings of the allure. Because sometimes, as a woman, I can
Wow.
imagine a costly man, a man of means, can be attractive by way of offering security. He can take care of this, that, and the other, and he'll give me the come up. But what comes with the come up is the lockup. So you got to remember that sometimes there's a
anyway,
cost. There's a
anyway,
cost to everything. So anyway, so yeah,
anyway,
just so
Oh,
you know, yes, yeah, there is a
oh,
cost.
Dixon,
you
we
know
love
what?
you.
Can
Yes.
I
somebody
love you.
can somebody help him with his ministry functions on this evening, please? I mean, I wasn't
Those
No,
who are coming,
look,
coming,
let
those who
me
are
help
coming.
you help yourself. I wasn't broke, busted, and couldn't be trusted, honey. I had
yes.
my own ends. Okay, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, and
All right, Miss
go ahead and close.
Victoria, we're gonna start with you. We're gonna
Yes.
give our quick encouragements to send the people out on something that you may give them by way of advice in this juncture here.
Well, I would always say consider how this is going to affect you more so
Mm,
than you consider how it's going to affect the other person. What's going
gotcha,
to be the outcome for you? Like you said, is
gotcha.
it a danger or is it a delight? I mean, if you're going to enter in, do your due diligence. And I mean,
Mm,
in today's society, that means background checks. You know,
Right.
you want to know what their health history looks like, all
mm,
of that, because it could go there.
mm.
Um, I just say do all of your homework and consider
Right,
self first.
Right.
gotcha.
Good stuff.
CC.
I always say count up the cost. To me, that kind of behavior just costs too much.
All right, you're right.
There's a profit loss for all parties involved, whether it be physical, financial, emotional, or spiritual. There's going to be a loss. And some people cannot naturally handle any level of loss or disconnect or even some disregard when it comes down to if they are trying to build a relationship. If it's not going the way they want it to go, it could turn very dangerous. Um, Sometimes pleasure can override uh, the purpose,
Yeah,
and that can cause a problem. So I
yeah,
always say count up the cost and
yeah.
see what the end would be.
Right, good stuff. Mr. Bruce.
I would say I think that we should have a realistic understanding that interactions between men and women they're going to lead somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
It's automatic. Any type of interaction and exchange, like we are,
mm,
like we talk about the commerce of relationship, when
Mm-hmm.
value when value items are exchanged, a kind word, a low gesture. Oh, I recognize that you like the same type of art that I like.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Whatever we wind up talking about in the lunchroom, even if we're in the break room and we're watching something about Trump and we're both laughing
mm.
because all of that, because that exchange by our nature, is going to progress into something.
Right,
So for me, I don't play them games.
good stuff.
Cold as ice. And
Good stuff.
if you are my woman in the workplace, you better be cold as ice.
Yeah. Right.
Cold as ice. You
You
go
said
there and
keep,
get
you
that
said
check,
keep it cold, Bruce.
cold as ice.
Mm,
High work and goodbye.
mm,
Yeah, high working goodbye. That's good stuff.
mm,
Because
mm.
the more you interact, in my closing, I would say, because the more we interact,
Mm.
because we are such a hypersexual people in a
Yeah.
hypersexual culture, the more we interact, the more we will interact.
Mm.
For that.
Good
Pause
stuff.
again.
All
Good
right.
stuff. Tea, coffee?
Dr. Monk.
You know, Charles, I'm scared to say something. You might throw me under the bus and drive over me.
No.
Not the face, not the face. Don't make the face.
Oh Lord. I just think that we have to decide our own fate. Choose
Mm.
our own fate and determine whether we believe that the person that we're dealing with has the same ideology and mentality that we have, and they understand the on the other side of the equation the danger behind destroying us, if you will, not
Mm.
only as far as a livelihood but everything else that goes along with that, because you can put somebody in such a bad position to where they're not able to recover for God knows how long. Like what Bruce is talking about, you talking about when you talk about having access to millions of dollars and then you're down to a few grand, you can't even, that's not, you can't even compare the two. I mean, so it's no telling if he ever will bounce back from that. It's no telling.
Mm.
And so with in consideration of things like that and stuff just happening in that, you got to really consider, is this really worth the risk for a possibility of a reward? Because you
Mm.
don't know what's on the other side of that equation. And you never know how a person will respond or react in the face of adversity. That's the real test of a relationship. When adversity shows up, you know who you're dealing with when adversity shows up. A lot of times when everything's grits and gravy, everything's juicy, and we all lovey-dovey and key, you don't get a clear indication of the person that you're dealing with. But when adversity shows up, that's when you know who you're really rolling with.
Mm.
When some kind of friction shows up in the relationship, that's when you know who you're really dealing with. And the danger behind that is it may be too late for you to bail out.
Yeah.
It may be
Mm.
too late for you to bail out. Your money might not be of value. It may not be a get out of jail free card at that point. So it's just something that it's a tricky situation and it's on a case by case basis. But I honestly, really frankly, I don't recommend it, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I think it's enough people in the universe to find
Yeah.
somebody else outside of the office. Unless
Mm.
you unless you working somewhere where you spend 20 hours a day and you only get a chance to go home and take a nap or change clothes, then it's only 8 hours in a day normally that we work. Between commuting, you talking about maybe 10 hours a day. It's other ways to explore opportunities for relationships.
Mm.
It's
All
okay.
right. So, I would say this. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, sometimes you never really know where you may come across your person. Um, I feel like if you find yourself in a situation where you happen to be just working with someone and you notice a certain interest level developing, you need to have a clear conversation. And really, to be honest, you have to plan to take it off site. Like meaning somebody needs to leave, get another job. If you're going to take it to that level, I'm not talking about somebody rolling around playing, but if you're going to take it to a serious level, it's not good to work and date someone where leverage is involved because of where you both meet. I mean, both work. When it gets hairy, your work will be threatened. So I mean that's just what's going to happen. I mean, especially if emotions get involved and you're not necessarily playing according to the rule book or according to the playbook, something is going to come up, Harry, and somebody is going to be bold about exposing. Because not everybody is like what Bruce suggested. In an ideal world, cold as ice would be great if you can go your way and then come back and mind your business and everybody's quiet. But in this day and time and social media and everything, people shy away from being quiet and hid and we're
Right.
gonna be silent. Everybody wants to somehow be seen and heard, and that's
Mhm.
what blows the whole spot up. So, like Pete Coffee said, at the end of the day, it's not a good idea if you are conscious of it going in. I just said if you happen to run across somebody in whatever field of work you're doing, and if you find yourself on that level of interest, you need to discuss an exit strategy and do what you're gonna do. That's about it. Yeah.
But that's good
Right.
stuff. So, before we get off, I had a question for you, Charles.
You trying to take revenge? That's it. All right,
I'm
go ahead.
not, I'm not
I
gonna
know
take,
where this is going.
I'm gonna be cold like Bruce said. I got my icicles on. I'm good. I ain't
Yeah,
gonna
okay.
take it.
All right, go ahead.
But I when you talk about when you made the comment when you were saying talk about the exit strategy, but on the flip side of that, what if there isn't an exit strategy? What if both people have vested a long-term interest in this organization? How do you propose they continue it with that type dynamic?
Well, but 9 out of 10, if we're honest, if you're any type of specialty that you're in for a number of years, you really do have the skill set to change the game if you chose to. We become comfortable and we don't feel like moving, so we want to risk it all by staying there. But I mean, you're at a point. Let's say CC was dating someone that's, like you said, not a pastor or minister, but this person was being a parishioner at the church and
Mm.
everybody's quiet. She's preaching, but they don't know her. That's their business. Now she probably saying, "Now look, if we're gonna take this to another level, this ain't gonna work like this. We have to take this offshore somewhere. This isn't gonna work. You got to make that type of decision and say if it's worth it, and if you want to really keep it intact, you're gonna have to change the scenery. You're not gonna be able to keep it
I
like
think
that.
our chaotic moment in the whole
Yeah.
matter is what we've talked about before, the secret.
Yes.
Trying to be secretive in a
Yeah.
relationship, that's conniving. It has an aura of deceit, not just between the two people, but you're deceiving the peers that you have. So if you
Mm.
operate in deceit, you will reap what you sow. So
Mm.
why bother?
Yeah.
That's always been my question. Why bother operating in deceit and deception and secretiveness, which are unhealthy ways to manage a
Mm.
healthy relationship? Because if you're keeping secrets between the two of you from other people, one of you is going to believe that the other one has a secret from
That you
that
don't know
area.
about. That you don't know.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's
So
right.
it
That's
generally
true.
fails. And again, building unhealthy relationships on unhealthy
Right.
foundations
Right.
will lead to destruction. We cannot expect people to go into this sneaky relationship of, let's just kick it and see where it goes. No, you ain't gonna kick it. Somebody finna get in their flesh and turn up that tail. Them cookies gonna get stirred, dipped in that milk. And
Right.
the
Dip them
problem,
cookies in that milk. Yes.
but but the problem is you started out in deception. So you're going to reap the corruption that you sowed. There is no good harvest in that. And that,
Right.
pardon the biblical language, but we are spirit beings and we've got to be more conscious of what we do with what we've been given. You're a horrible steward if you can't control your faculties when it comes
Mm.
down to another person that you're interacting with only
Mm.
8 hours of the day, because there are
Mm.
16 hours that you're not with them.
Mm.
So if it becomes now you put yourself in a scenario where there's 16 hours with them and only 8 hours without, you're really in trouble. You're
Mm.
really in a danger zone. So when we look at the things that you shared, everybody shared, nobody here has had a 100% positive experience. The
Right.
best experience is to be able to say, you know what, we're going too fast, too far. Let's just
Yeah.
walk away before anybody
Correct.
loses it.
Right.
Nobody really in this day and age looks at it like that. They look at it for selfish reason. They have self-aggrandizement and they want to be heard and seen, like you said.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we got to really encourage people. Let's do it the right way. If you're interested in somebody in the workplace, say everybody, it might be some changes around here because me and Charles kicking it and
Mm-hmm.
with us being in the same room, things may not work out. So if you see one of
Right.
us gone, but that's being honest. Most people don't know how
Okay.
to do that.
Okay.
They don't know how to be honest and say, we have a liking. And if you take yourself off the market in public, you'll avoid some of the public shame that comes with secrecy. You'll avoid
Mm.
it.
So
So
30
Well,
why?
that's
seconds,
good stuff.
30 seconds walking out, 30 seconds walking out. Bruce and Charles, 30 seconds each. What is the difference between a secret and privacy? Somebody just inboxed me that.
A secret and
What is
privacy.
between, wait, hold on. She said, what is the difference between having a secret relationship and a private relationship? What's the difference? 30 seconds.
Secret represents the shame of you. The privacy is the value of you, protecting you.
Bruce?
Wow. I concur.
Somebody asked you to
Exactly what he said. Private is your value is high. I know my life. I know what my life entails. I am protecting you.
Yeah.
I know I am Batman. And if people find out my true identity, they can come after you.
Correct.
So I am private.
Correct.
Secret means I got somebody on the other side of town,
I don't need
and
you
I
to
don't
see.
want you to know it.
Correct. Yeah. And here's the thing.
How do you know the difference, though, Charles?
The person that inquires of the secret, in most cases, they already know they're the secret. That's why they're inquiring about it.
How do you know the difference, Charles?
Because a person, like Bruce said, let's take Denzel Washington. This man was coveted by women all over the world. So he knew, I cannot have my woman on the firing line. She won't survive it. They will disrespect her up and down the street, and she'll want to quit on that alone. Because she might love him to death, but it's too overwhelming to stomach. So he has to say, wait a minute, I have to privatize my wife and put her here, privily, like they say in the word, TC, privily put her here.
Yep.
So
There
that's
you
what
go.
he did now. The secrecy part of it is, the same Denzel has his wife, but he's telling his wife to stay home from the awards functions because he know one of the presenters, he's sleeping with her. So she's the secret. So I don't want you two to come together. So you stay over there. Don't come in the same proximity. It's different. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. All right, so we going home after the secrets and the Victoria's Secret was in the building, and then we had the value of the privacy versus the secret of the booty.
And the last but not least, you can keep from being the secret if you cease from doing secret things. That's
my
it.
Lord, tonight. My Lord,
Secret things.
Good stuff. Well, this has been real. It's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. I'm about to go get some groceries. Y'all have a good evening. We appreciate y'all being on this evening. As always, blessings and miracles. Y'all have an incredible balance of the week, and we'll see y'all same bat time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. East of Central, 10 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday night and Monday night. Do not forget to hop on the new conversation room with my honored co-host, Mr. Charles Dixon, who recently celebrated his 75th birthday.
Jesus.
You guys,
We have to deal with America.
y'all can catch him next Monday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you again for your time, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Take care, everybody. See y'all.
Everybody.
All right.
Good to be here. Good night, all.